Okay, I better get started on this before I get interrupted by a small child, as is what happened yesterday when I meant to do this. So I just felt like I needed to kind of record some thoughts because I'm in a current situation, a good situation at the moment, but I'm a bit challenged in terms of my ability to keep doing the sort of personal development content as I have been doing it, and I'm quite keen to keep up some kind of momentum with it. Um, and I am pretty confident that I'll get back to doing it in the sort of regular routine format that I was doing it. But I think just temporarily some adjustments are needed just for sustainability reasons. So um, in terms of what's going on at the moment, just for people that, not that people are necessarily that interested, but just in case anyone is, I'm not going to go into massive detail about it, but um, I made some decisions career-wise that sort of represented a fairly significant pivot, but for the right reasons, and we'll see how it goes. It's going pretty well so far, but I just wanted to kind of get some thoughts out there about where I am and what the kind of forward direction is and how I'm going to continue to do this in a sustainable format for people that I know that there are some people who consume what I put out there, which is fantastic. And it's not really, it's kind of for them and it's also for me as well because I do enjoy doing it. And I think that having a kind of bank of regular stuff there, this stuff is still gonna hopefully exist after I don't. So there's a little bit of me kind of likes the idea that for example, my kids when they're a bit older might be able to look back over some of these things, and it's maybe not that I'm no Marcus Aurelius, but there might be some wisdom in there that perhaps I haven't had an opportunity to share with them, depending on how life works out. So there's lots of reasons to continue doing it, but I do enjoy doing it, and I know that people have said to me that they find it helpful sometimes. So there you go. So yeah, really, kind of what I'm saying is that if you're not aware, there were sort of a fairly significant life change that I decided to take. So I've worked in the NHS for a long time. I think it was nearly up to 15 years, give or take. Fairly significant service, more than some, less than others. But you know, for all the deficiencies of media reporting, if you look at the pattern of things, you'll get a sense that the NHS has been pretty challenged, both by the pandemic and particularly since the pandemic. In a lot of ways, what's happened since the pandemic is probably worse, to be honest, and it's having a as big an impact on the staff as the actual kind of threat of the pandemic did. So I guess I just kind of found myself in a situation. It was that kind of classic frog in the water thing. I didn't quite realise I was being boiled um, until, over a period of time, I think I just started to see some things about myself, the effect that work was having on me. And, I won't get into it in great detail because I don't want people to be worried about having to go to hospital. But, ultimately I went into a specialty where my kind of skills could be kind of best applied. Didn't really want to do ward rounds and clinics necessarily. In my nature, I have a reasonably short attention span, but I like to solve problems. I like to kind of deviate from one task to the next. That's probably an element of my neurodiversity, but hey ho. So there was a lot about emergency medicine that really attracted me. So I was, that's what I was trained to do. I was trained to deal with multiple patients at a time, to be kind of making decisions about things, to be providing, first line treatment, and that either being enough or referring people on, kind of problem solving, decision making, all those kind of core things. And what really my role had evolved into was looking after patients for 2 days instead of 4 hours, which isn't really my skill set. It's not my core skill set. Obviously, I have done it before, but not, not in a completely inadequate environment. So that kind of stuff was really putting a lot of stress on me. Seeing what was happening to the people around me was putting a lot of stress on me as well. Staff leaving, being always short-staffed, just no boundaries in the job whatsoever. I couldn't leave it behind, and you might argue, it's not a job, it's a vocation, and I get that, and I know what I signed up for, but I think for the sake of your own mental health, you do need to have some boundaries. But I just got to a place where I just felt like there was none, where I was always accessible, um, where all it would take would be one message in a WhatsApp group, and my brain would go off spiraling in a direction, that I didn't want it to, and I think working with a great team, fantastic team, but my kind of senior colleague, who's is a great man, is a fantastic doctor, but doesn't know the meaning of the word boundaries. I do know the meaning of the word boundaries and just felt massively conflicted by it, so I felt like I needed to be like him, but I didn't want to be like him because I could see the effect it was having on him. And that's definitely no slight on him, it was just how I felt. And then we have the team who, fantastic team who were, kind of giving their all, but, they were also craving boundaries. A lot of them were creaking at the seams, and I just felt like they were looking at both of us and just always expecting more. And I was like, I was just thinking internally, I can't give any more. And so that just led me to a place where, I was coming home every day and I was ranting and I was complaining and I was whinging and I just wasn't happy. And on my days off, I was, um, yeah, my days off, I just wasn't relaxing. And then I was dreading going back to work. And that cycle was kind of continuing. And I've just turned 42. Um, and, it's a long career. And I just felt like I couldn't continue. Well, actually, that's not true. So I could continue, but if I continued, I was going to make myself very unhappy, very unhealthy, and I wasn't going to be doing justice to the other roles in my life. So we talk about being a doctor as being a vocation, and you're there to serve other people, but I am a human being at the end of the day, with human being limitations. I have other important roles that I play in life, so I don't necessarily think that my doctor role is any more or less important than the other roles in my life. So I'm a husband, I'm a father, and becoming a father has been a really important change in my life, and has really challenged my view of boundaries between other roles, particularly work roles. So at one point I was heavily into sports medicine, and I was looking into getting involved with local rugby teams when I moved to the area, because rugby is obviously huge in our area. Um, and I decided not to ultimately, and the reason I decided not to was because I was already spending enough time at work, and the last thing I wanted to do was then threaten my time with my family for standing outside of a rugby pitch, and really that was what it came down to. And it was a similar decision making process that led me to leave the NHS. And initially, the plan was just to go and locum, be a self-employed locum, just to give me that freedom again, to give me the ability to walk away and not have to worry about what's going on. And ultimately, it led to me sort of moving in a sort of completely different direction, where I'm still working as a doctor, but I'm working for a business now that employs doctors, and that's been a big change. And I think that kind of brings me to where I'm going with the content for the next little while. As long as it takes, really, I'll know when the time is right to change my approach. But I'm going to do this kind of format of thing, not as long a video as I've done today, but I'm going to just try and do short videos talking about things relevant to what's going on in my life at the time, or things I've been reading, things I've been listening to. Try and keep it under 5 minutes, probably. This is definitely not going to be under 5 minutes, but it's just a bit of an update about what's been happening with me and where I'm at. Ultimately, I'm much happier than I was before. I'm busy at the moment, in the sort of initial stages of my career pivot and training and getting accustomed to a new role and things. And there's been certain kind of mindset challenges along the way that I've had to apply myself to, which will probably be the topic of my initial content, um, and then we'll take it from there really. So kind of new and interesting developments. Don't know how they're going to work out, but ultimately, uh, I feel like I made the right decision. I'm already getting feedback from my nearest and dearest telling me that I'm already much happier than I was before. So that's interesting. So I think that's about all I wanted to say. So yeah, apologies I'm not outside. If you're watching this on YouTube, all my other videos have been outside. They have churned up the field that I normally walk the dog on. I'm probably not going to walk around my local town talking to myself because word spreads fast in small towns of signs of insanity. So I probably won't do that. Apologies, the old man hat has been retired for the winter. I've got the beanie hat instead. So you might have to get used to this kind of view of me sat with the rugby mash poster behind me, which if you can get a hold of it is quite entertaining, and kids love looking for stuff in it. But yeah, so the plan is I'll be doing shorter videos from time to time just to sort of share some thoughts with you. I'm going to start with some mindset challenges that I've faced coming into this new role, maybe tell you a bit about this new role as well. And yeah, look forward to doing something a bit new. I try and do it on a regular basis, maybe 3 times a week. But yeah, a bit of a change of direction was needed. Bit of time off doing content was needed, but I do want to get back to it. So let's go with this and see what happens. Okay, right. So I'm looking forward to staying in touch with you all, and the next one should be coming soon.